Welcome, everybody. Seth Apter in the house. It is Tuesday, and it is Mixed Media Tuesday today. Today is all about a show and tell. And I am going to wait a few minutes, welcome people as they come in, and then we'll get down to business. As you come in, those of you who are here already, please feel free, if you're here live, to leave a comment. Let me know you're here. Maybe let me know where you're from. And certainly if you are watching on recording, you are more than welcome to leave a comment as well. But I'm going to say it right up front. If you're watching on recording and you want to contact me about something in this video, probably best to either message or email me. I want to send big thanks out from the start to Janine. Janine K is here. She is behind the scenes at both Facebook and YouTube because I am streaming live simultaneously on both. And she is going to be adding notes and comments and respond to you on both sites simultaneously, which is amazing because I can barely do it on one. And she's going to be answering questions and helping me as always. So thank you, Janine. Welcome everybody as you sign in. Again, if you're just getting here, let me know you're here. Please leave a comment. And if you are watching on YouTube, it's always good for me if you will subscribe. If you subscribe to my channel, you will get updates that I leave in the community, as well as advance notice about videos and reminders when they happen. So happy to be here on YouTube and Facebook and to be sharing this with a different and bigger group. So welcome everybody. As I started with, this is a show and tell Tuesday. This is not a demo Tuesday. Wah, wah. So those of you who are only here for the demo, you might want to check out, but you never know what you might find. So you might want to hang. But it's no demo today. It's a show and tell, and I'll tell you more about that when I open the show. I want to welcome Nicole, Wendy from Down Under, Tracy, Nancy, Joyce, Grace, Jennifer from Tulsa, Allison, welcome, welcome. Hey, Yvonne. Yvonne says she's hoping to create along with me today, and you're more than welcome to work while I show and tell, but there will be no art making for this Mixed Media Tuesday. They will range anywhere from demos to show and tells to special personal shopping events to announcements and who knows what else. Hey, Annie. Hey, Bonnie, great to see you. Claudia from California, beautiful. Hey, Kathy, great to see you. Fifi. Allison's got to get ready for work. I get that. But as you say, I will be here waiting for you forever on the internet because once you post it, it never goes away. Hey, Louise. Yvonne says she's going to stay anyway because she was procrastinating. Perfect. Hey, Linda, Abigail from London. Love this, and Random Art from Texas. So thank you for joining me. As always, most of you know, you're all familiar, at least those of you who have left a comment, that I will start these with some welcomes. So we'll go another maybe 2 or 3 minutes with some welcoming. And then I'm going to move on to what I do at the start of every Mixed Media Tuesday, which if you don't know what that is, it's something that I started in September. It's going to run through the end of the year. And it is every second and fourth Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. I will be live on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. The video will then be edited and placed later on also on YouTube so that the important bits can be watched. And this is going to run into the end of the year, and then I'll reassess to see how it's going. So far, it's been great. So I'm probably going to continue it, but I may tweak it a little bit. And that's what Mixed Media Tuesdays are. Hey, Anne, Dolita, Claire, so good to see you. We got a lot of people from the UK and Linda from Michigan too. Rhonda, welcome, welcome. Hey, Sean, so good to see you guys. We'll go 1 more minute and then we will begin. So we will begin with announcements, as I mentioned earlier. And then today we're doing the show and tell. So there's going to be really 2 aspects to the show and tell today. First aspect, I'm going to share some things that are going to go live in the shop as soon as I tell you about them. They're not there yet, and I'm not announcing them anywhere except here, live, and then I'll announce it after the video in general on social media. And then I'm going to take you through, I'm going to show you some samples too of some things. And then I'm going to take you through my experience at multiple locations in the Pacific Northwest where I just got back from after 11 days, including some flip throughs. So you may want to stay for some flip throughs just to get some inspiration from that art. And it's so nice that some of the people who were there in the Pacific Northwest with me are here, which is great. Hey, Christy, Annie, Louise wants to know, inquiring minds want to know. Louise says, how are you? I'm well. You look well. Well, I am. That's perfect. Are you going to do a Christmas walkabout in New York this year? I love them. Yes. Can't wait, can't wait, can't wait. Those of you who don't know, since the very beginning of the pandemic, every year I have taken a holiday Christmas walk down and around in New York City to see the sights, ending up at Rockefeller Center to show you the tree. And that will happen again this year. I will announce that as it gets closer, but it's live. It will also obviously be on recording, waiting for you. But it's one of the things I love to do and share with you in New York City. Hey, Loie, Marilyn from NC. Hope you're doing well down there. Let's see. Yep. All right. So let's shift gears. Let's just go right into the announcements. I'm going to say this once or twice that because I edit this video and want to make the editing easier, there might be moments when I'm live that I'm reintroducing myself as if I hadn't yet, because in the edited version, I won't have. So just bear with me if you hear me say, hey, it's Seth Apter from New York City 5 or 6 times. I know y'all understand. All right, so some announcements. First of all, just some information about in-person events, which obviously is not relevant to everybody here because unless you live near there or can go, you may be bored. So this is the time to run and get your snacks. But I just want to make mention that Thursday, 2 days from today, I will be out on Long Island in New York in Huntington. I'm going to be at North Shore Quilting, which is a wonderful, wonderful shop. It'll be my first time there. There's going to be 2 events this Thursday. So you New Yorkers, people in Jersey, Connecticut, tri-state area, anybody who wants to fly overnight, I'm going to be doing a class. The class is filled and sold out, so they're not taking any more people for the class. But there is a trunk show, and the trunk show is 10 a.m. to noon. Janine just put a link to the page on my website, which allows you to see all the listings with direct links to all my in-person events. Easiest way, and you can always pop in anytime you want to check. I'm excited about this one. It's close to home. I just got back late last night. I haven't been back, I don't know, even 18 hours yet, and I'm on the road again. And then I get back, and on Halloween, I leave again because on November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I'm teaching with Patty Euler. Those of you who don't know Patty, she formerly owned the Queen's Ink in Savage, Maryland. She is now hosting events and teaching events, and she and I are doing our 2nd art escapade of the year. The first art escapade was amazing. It's just outside Baltimore, and it is November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and yet again, there are 2 seats left. Those last 2 seats, no one wants to fill them. I'll tell you, it's a big class. There are 45 people. So we have 43. We have room for 2 more. Anybody interested? Janine will put a direct link. But again, you can always go to sethapter.com and you can find all the links and listings of my live events. Louise says she wishes she lived around the corner, and I do too. And then you could pop in and out. And Akana, welcome. Thank you for joining me. So that is my last in-person event of the year. I always end in early to mid-November because there's lots of things that go on after that. And stay tuned, maybe, well, definitely for an online class. It's in the preparation stages. And another art salon in the preparation stages. That's kind of like a mini class. More about that later. I just wanted to make mention of one event in 2025, which is right around the corner, and one event in 2026, which, because time goes so fast, seems going to be right around the corner. 2025 just announced I am going to be returning to Santa Fe, New Mexico. I love New Mexico. Love it, love it, love it. This year, earlier in the year, I did a workshop there called Found and Gathered, which I'm going to be talking about very soon in a different context. And next year, I'm going back in October. It's October 12th to the 19th. You can get all the information on my website. Janine's probably going to put a link. And it's a very different kind of class. And I want anybody and everybody who signs up for it, before you sign up for it, read it. Read it. I know we don't read anymore, but read it, because I don't want you to be surprised. It is called a mentored residency. And basically, it's a week long. It's at Jen Tuff's gallery, amazing space in Santa Fe. She's changed her model. And what's going to happen is that there are 8 students, 8, only 8, not 7, not 9, certainly not 16 or 45, 8. So not many spots. At least 4, when I checked yesterday, were already gone. And it is a mentored residency, which basically means that all 8 students come, they share each, 2 each in a studio. So 2 people to a private studio. 4 people get to stay on site and live in the casitas on site. Those spots are already sold out. There are also 4 spots for people to live at a very close by inn, and get transportation back and forth if you don't have transportation. Food's served, but the most important point is that the first 4 days you're on your own. I'm not there. I'm not there. I joined the last 3 days. I always count with my fingers for the residency. It's an intensive mentored residency. So the first 4 days you guys work on your own, and then I join you and I can answer your questions, give you direction, help you out, guide you in your career, help you make choices. It could be focused on art. It could be focused on business. It could be focused on anything that's related to that aspect. Not for everybody, and certainly not for a beginner, but for somebody who loves Santa Fe, for somebody who loves an incredible surround, for somebody who wants to take their art practice or their art business further, it's perfect. So it's a mentored residency. And yeah, if you're interested, you can always ask me questions, but the best thing to do is just click on the link. Janine just left it, and get the information. All right, last announcement that's related to classes 2026. I've only announced this in-person classes and on these Facebook Lives. I'll be announcing it soon in general across the entire internet. And that is that I am taking a dream trip, a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Japan in October 2026, 2 years. And I am taking a group of people with me. I'm going with Craft Tours, an organization that took me and sponsored me to Spain last year. Phenomenal group, such a good experience, amazing. This is going to be really special. It'll probably be the only time I go, and it's been on my list forever and a day. That day is special. There's a number of people who've already signed up, people from the group, people from my live classes, and people who went to Spain. And I'm just really excited about it. It's 11 days. It is going between Tokyo and Kyoto, as well as a few stops in smaller places along the way. It's very art focused. I'm going to be teaching 2 half-day classes. We're going to be doing shibori. We're going to be doing indigo. We're going to make our own kaleidoscopes. We're going to be going to a kimono museum. We're going to be taking the bullet train. I'm going to be taking you to one of those like gazillion, and I mean that, I think it's 1,000+ vendor flea market. I'm going to be taking you by bus to specialty craft stores in Japan. They only have these kinds of stores in Japan. They're like nowhere else. We're going to be doing a tea ceremony. We're going to be eating together. We're going to be staying in very nice places. We're going to have private tours. It's going to be mega amazing. So anybody who's interested, just click on the link and see what it's about. Now, it's not inexpensive, of course, but I have been told that the price for what we get who wants to go, who might be able to afford to go, to plan it and also to save and to go on the payment plan. The payment plan is $1,000 down and $350 a month. So that may be doable for some. This is a very, you have to be committed to want to do this. It's an intense trip, obviously, very long travel. Airline from Japan, from LA and back is included. All travel within is included. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to probably do eventually a Facebook Live just about this to give you more detail. And I could talk about it forever, but those of you who aren't going probably don't want to hear me spend the next hour talking about this. So I'm going to move on. And I do know that there are some people here who have signed on who are here watching. So if you have any questions, again, just go to crafttour.com, or go to the link on my website on the live events page, or message me and reach out and I can give you information. All right, enough of the announcement. Let's go to part B. Part B has to do with the shop. My poor lonely shop. You know, people have been buying. Thank you so much these last 2 weeks when I've been, again, I just got back late last night. I'm leaving again tomorrow. So for all of you who've placed orders in the last couple of weeks, I know you saw the note that shipping would be delayed. As soon as I get back from my adventure in Long Island, I will be shipping again. And thank you all for being patient with your orders. But I have boxes and boxes and boxes, and I mean that, of stuff. And we all love stuff that's just waiting for me to open, put in the shop. And that's going to happen through the entire month of November, including some very, 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 very special events. So the shop, let me just tell you about the shop. I got a couple things to share with you. First of all, I just want to remind everybody that I recently did have a release of fabric from Free Spirit. This is called the Live Out Loud collection. There's 15 different designs, and you can get them at stores, independent stores across the world. If you can't find one close to you, let me know. And you can also get them from my shop, and I am selling fat quarters. I am selling half-yard bundles. And I am selling individual half-yard cuts. I am almost out of a few. This is a one-and-done collection, just like my original one. Once it sells through the original order, then shops will no longer be able to buy anymore, and it won't exist. So now's the time if you're interested. I also want to let everybody know who was around last year for my original collection storyboard that yes, indeed, the ripped stripped bundles are coming. Ripped stripped bundles, if you don't know what they are, and how could you if you don't know what they are, they're long strips that have been torn by yours truly. Takes a long time. That include 2 of every pattern in long strips with lots and lots and lots of torn ripped threads. Now, a lot of the quilters may not want that, but the mixed media artists do. It's a way to get the whole collection in a smaller format that's perfect for mixed media. And these will be available sometime in, I'm going to guess, mid-November, because I got to get back so I can tear and rip and shred. But they will be available. And I know from last year that they were, with the first collection, very, 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 very popular. Louise says, we call them jelly rolls. The reason why I don't call them jelly rolls is because they're torn. And so I tried to find my one sample I had from my last collection, but I couldn't find it before this. But they're shredded. They're not beautifully cut. And so anybody who's looking to have them specifically, say, for work in a quilt or a pattern, you're going to have to cut the edges off. You're going to lose a little bit of it, and you're going to have to do that extra work. So I don't want people to think they're jelly rolls, but they're kind of like jelly rolls. All right. Now, I want to show you some samples real quick from the collection. First of all, I want to show you this amazing creature. Can anyone guess who made this? I am going to do some interactive Q&A in the middle of the show and tell on Mixed Media Tuesday. And I know you know. I know a lot of you know, because this is signature style from another artist friend of mine. Janine knows. Funny, Janine. But I'm going to let everybody, you know, it's a little delayed from when I say it to when the comments appear. So I need to, wait. So now hopefully we have about 3,000 people saying it's Keisha. Keisha Deveni, an amazing artist, good friend of mine. She used the fabric from this new collection to create this wonderful doll. I just want you to notice the details, the stitching. It's so cool. She signed the back, so I couldn't quite show you before. And, you know, if those of you who remember Stitch from last year, this I think is like maybe Stitch's granddaughter. I'm not so sure. Janine just put a link to Keisha, but I also want to make mention for those of you also in the tri-state area. Janine, well, oh, and Angie's here. Angela Huggins is here. That is awesome. So I'm just about to talk about Angela. So Angela, you could leave info too, but Janine will. I am going to be taking a class taught by Keisha. I love Keisha. Keisha and I go way back. We've taught collaborations. We've gone to Australia and taught there together. We've gone to each other, you know, studio spaces. She's tried to teach me how to thread my sewing machine. So she's going to be teaching a class called the Royal Rebel Rousers Doll Making Class. It is in Jersey City and it is at Angela Huggins' place, which is Angela's Dollhouse. I've never been there. I'm excited to go. It is Saturday, November 9th. And it's really cool. The doll, go look on probably Keisha's Facebook page if you want to see the sample, but it's like a kind of a rogue doll. It's not a stuffy exactly like this. It's made with rebar wire. It looks so cool and I can't wait. So if you're interested in that, get the information. You can't sign up online. Angela, since you're here, maybe you can tell us the best way. Oh, Janine just put a link to the photo. Angela, the best way to contact you to sign up. I'm really excited about it. I don't get to take classes that often. And Keisha's so much fun. And yeah, I can't wait. So maybe I'll see some of you there and we can all like be rebel rousers as students. Well, maybe just a little bit. All right. Keisha also made this wonderful banner out of the fabrics. I love it. I love the message. I love how she created it. I love the back, even the back. It's really hard to show live, but you can kind of see what she did. Love the stitching. And I just think it's so cool. And she even used some of my fabric with the words as a way to attach the elements. It's just really clever. It's really cool. I kind of think she should just like make 1,000 of these in her spare time and sell them. Because I know I would buy a whole bunch. Keisha, you listening? Okay. And then last but not least, I don't know if Laura's still here. Laura, if you're still here, give me a shout in the comments. Laura Dennison attended my class in the Pacific Northwest last week. And I'm going to talk about that in much more detail. But she made a small quilt with my original line storyboard. And she's there. And she gifted me this. So special. Janine just put a link to Angela's Dollhouse in the Instagram, but Janine is also going to link to Laura. But Laura, you're right here. You can link as well. And again, very hard to kind of display fully. But we're going to open it up just to show you how magnificent this is. This is the back. I mean, the back is so good. Like, let's just look at the back. The quilting. This Shine Your Light is the name of this pattern. And then the front. Let me show you the front. How amazing this is. I mean, Laura, if there's anything you want to say about the pattern or anything about it, but it really shows the fabrics well. And I love that she used some dark and some light in there as well to get that much needed contrast. I just think it's phenomenally gorgeous. And just because we can, I can kind of show it to you in the quilting in a maybe, you know, more detailed, but a better way so you can actually see the beauty of this. So Laura, a big thank you. So appreciative. Laura says it's an, oh, Rhonda says it's gorgeous. Meant to click on Laura, who says it's an original pattern. It's not yet out as a downloadable pattern, but it will soon be. So you can contact Laura. Laura can put her info here. Janine may have already. And, let her know you're interested in maybe getting the pattern. But a big thank you. So special to receive that from you. And lots of people seem to be loving it. We got a wow, that's gorgeous. Another wow, a beautiful, really beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous wow. What a unique piece. How wonderful, what a gift. Gorgeous, gorgeous, drooling. A beautiful quill, absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, it's definitely a gorgeous and it's a wow. Hey, so if you're just joining me or you joined in the last 10 or 15 minutes, let me tell you what's going on today. It's Mixed Media Tuesday. And every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, I do these live events that are streaming on Facebook and on YouTube. The event will eventually get shrunk and edited and placed on YouTube. And so that you don't have to listen to the extras, you can focus more. Today, it's a show and tell. It's been a demo 3 times in a row, but today it's a show and tell, and I'm giving some announcements. I'm talking about some stuff in the store, and I am going to be talking about and doing a walkthrough of some art from my recent visit to Pacific Northwest. So if you're wondering, like, where's the demo? Today, there is no demo. Now, I am going to ask you guys to like chill for a second, like talk amongst yourselves. Here's a topic. Pet tape. That's the topic. All right. So while you're doing that, I'm going behind the scenes. I'm clicking on and opening up another window because I need to make, I don't know why I said pet tape. I mean, it wouldn't be pet tape, but I need to make my new products that I was able to somehow open, photograph, upload, and now tell you are live in my shop at sethapter.com. All right, so they're now live. You can find them in the new and restock section, but let me tell you what I got. Let me show you what I got. An order, literally an order just popped in. All right, I love that. I love how fast you guys are with your fingers and your multiple devices. Okay, let's flip here. So I think my favorite designer of tape is Plus Minus. Plus Minus are the most amazing. It's one woman, Yuki. She's the most amazing designer, and I love it. She speaks to me. Well, not literally, although we do email. But she has pet tape out, new pet tapes. I'm going to show you the 2 of them. There are only 2. They are one and done. She let me show you my face again. She creates a limited amount. Once they're sold out, they're not back. And she only had 2, again, counting on my fingers this time. And I got a lot of both. Hands down favorite. Now they're pet tape. Pet tape is like a polyester film tape. It's kind of like a packing tape. You can't tear it. If you snip it, like fabric, you can then tear it. It's clear and it's overprinted in a number of colors. So the 2 she has are words. Whoops, didn't want to do that. Wanted to do that. So this is words. So this is a matte polyester tape. So it does have a little shine, but relatively speaking, very little. They are almost like blocks of paper, vintage paper that's been kind of crumpled and torn and overprinted in black, this sort of rich wine and an indigo blue and some black. I said black twice because there's black text, but then there's some black spots. And it's just phenomenal. I want to say that it is huge, and I mean that. It is, here's the roll. It is, let's see, 5 centimeters or 50 millimeters wide. You know, this is a typical washi tape. It's good. It is 10 meters in length. which is pretty traditional for washi tape. It is matte. It's got a matte surface, although there is a little bit of a shine, but that is not much of a shine for a pet tape. And best of all, it's got a 200 centimeter cycle. What that basically means is that this tape runs 200 centimeters. I know a lot of us in the US have no clue what that is. Maybe I shouldn't say that out loud, but it's true. It's very long. It's very long before it repeats. So you get all of these 5 strips, plus a lot more before it even repeats. So if I kind of show you the roll, you'll see what I mean. And you'll see, you get a better sense of the tape. So the tape is clear. It's kind of like a packing tape. It comes with a backing. And so it's all of this, plus, look at the hand, plus all of this. Oh, and then that's the repeat. So you basically get over 6 of these strips, which includes 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, 5, I don't know, like 30 or 40 of these squares before you see another one. Because it comes from Taiwan, because shipping is high, just because the pricing is not low. So sticker shock for those of you who never bought pet before, but it's $21.99. And trust me when I say it's worth it. It's full on transparent, where there's no printing. So if you put it on a different colored backing, say like this, which is something I got from the Pacific Northwest, you just see whatever colors underneath it. So white, black, red, you can make it pop however you want. I appreciate all of you who are somehow seeing how, even if you're not buying too much, how this might be worth buying, because lots of you have popped into the shop. I see on my computer the orders popping up. And then I save the best for last. Usually I put the best for first. I am digging this. Honestly, I will tell you before I show it to you, I think this may be my favorite pet tape ever. I don't know. The other one I love is Recollections. Do you guys remember Recollections? Which I'm going to try to get more of, but I can't. It's all the windows and the doors. But tell me this is not ecstatically, incredibly, phenomenally, perfectly, and perfectly, like I'd run halfway across the world to get it. I just love how she creates the design. And I have to tell you, the color, you can see it, I think, on your screen. The color here is just superb. It really is. And this is so much a color and so rich. I'm going to show it to you that way. Again, it's matte pet tape. This one is, just phenomenal. And I agree with Sean. She's dying on the second tape design. Yes. It's like graffiti on pet tape. That's how I described it. Yes. It's so good. It's just so good. And it's the same size. It's 50 millimeters by 10 meters. And it's got a 200 centimeter repeat again. So it's just huge. All of this that's here, plus more. Let's flip the camera one more time. It's also $21.99. This is the roll. And then this is the roll. And everything I'm showing you right here, this was not on the page. Look at that one. And this is where the repeat begins again, right there. So you get a lot. And it's $21.99. It's pet tape. It's from Plus Minus. Oh, she's amazing. And if this sells out, I'll try to get more. But she already warned me when I placed my first order that it was a one and done. And if she got the number of orders she expected, she will not have any more of this. What am I showing you guys now? I'm showing both me and Matt. That's not what we want. We want to focus, right? I'm going to put this away, and then we're going to move on. that's it for the shop. That's it for the announcements. Now we're moving on to some more arty things, I guess you could say. Oh, one more announcement. So sorry. I didn't prep this well because I don't have them here. But some of you may know who Nick Bantock is. He is the amazing author of the Griffin and Sabine series that came out in the early 80s and kept going. And he's an amazing artist, really phenomenal man. I interviewed he and his wife. It's on YouTube if you want to look that up um, um, on my channel. And I am the exclusive US, North America seller of his new release of stamps. He's now at 4 stamps. He used to release stamps many years ago, and he came back with all new designs. And I just want to say that it's been interesting because they've flown out of my shop like faster than they usually do. And I come to find out that it's part of fodder school and it's in the lesson. So there are virtually only a few left. If you came in the last few days and you didn't see them there and you want them, I broke down the few sets I had into individuals, so they're now available again. And there's an order coming from the artistic stamper who creates them in the UK. They're the other place you can get them worldwide. And probably I won't get them until next week, but they are coming back. So if you're interested, you can send me a note and I can message you, or you can just keep checking the shop. And there's the link to the Nick Bantock tapes. All right, now we go on to other fun things. I want to make mention and just share with you and take you along for the ride of my recent trip to the Pacific Northwest. I was away 11 days. I got back last night. I'm going to show you some things. But just to tell you a little briefly about it, I was teaching at the Pacific Northwest Art School. That is on Whidbey Island in Coopville. Whidbey Island is a magical island. Those of you who have been there will really understand that. Instead of taking the ferry, because I had a car, could have taken the car on the ferry, but I wanted to drive over Deception Pass. I did not get photos because the weather wasn't great either time I went through it. It is a gorgeous, gorgeous view, and you can look it up online. It's quite exciting. The class was my Found and Gather class, which is a 5-day retreat. Several of you who were there are here watching. Phenomenal organization. I've taught there 3 times before. Shout out to Lisa, who runs it. Shout out to Carol, who was, they provided an assistant who was the most amazing assistant I have ever had. Not that I've had many in my classes. And it was really fun. It was a great group of students. There were 18 students, and people just made magic. I recently posted on Facebook if you want to see some of what was made, and I'll be posting more. Before that, I spent a few days in Seattle. Let me just say that you didn't get many photos because I decided to take my time there to just explore and enjoy for myself. Normally, this is me walking around. Where can I get, I guess like this, where can I get a photo? Where can I get a photo? I got to post a photo. I got to find a photo for Facebook. Got to put it on Instagram. Got to get a reel. Where's my photo? And I decided that I just wanted to be. So I took the time there initially just to wander. And thank you for some of the recommendations you guys left me on Facebook. I did take you up on some of them. While I was there, I also went to Calico Creations, which is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful quilt shop, fabric shop in Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon is this cool little town north of Seattle, about 90 minutes north of Seattle. Really built up over the years, really fun. I have to say the shop was amazing. They knew, lots of people came. It was kind of like a show and tell trunk show. They literally knew every single person who came. And some people who they didn't know, they met because thank you, you came because you knew me and I was going to be there. But it was just a wonderful, wonderful place. I had a really good time. Went out to dinner after in Anacortes on the water. It was really fun. Then I went over Deception Pass, spent the week plus on Whidbey Island, and really had a great time. And I'm going to demo. Nope, scratch that word. No demo. Let's rewind and start again. I'm going to show you some of the things that my sample for the class, the little bit I made in the class, and some papers that I think you're going to really like. And then I went back to Seattle via Camano Island. I don't know if you know Camano Island. It's another island up there. so beautiful. And I was visiting my friend Donna Watson. If you guys don't know Donna Watson, you need to look her up. She also teaches actually 2 online classes with Fiber Arts Take Two, an Australian-based company who put out the most phenomenally, professionally exciting videos I've seen among the many classes I've seen. Really, it's a highlight for any artist who gets to do that. It's kind of considered their signature classes, and she has 2 up, and they're great. So if you click over to donnawatsonart.com and you like her style, check out her coursework for FAT, F-A-T-T, Fiber Art Take Two. And then I went back to Seattle for a day, and you know what? I didn't do anything because I couldn't leave the hotel room on my one last day because I had so much to do. Let me tell you, peeps, I got deadlines. The deadlines don't stop just because I'm teaching for a week. And I'm still in the middle of the deadlines. So I'm going to be up late tonight before I leave tomorrow again for my next class on Long Island. I will catch up. I always do. But, always like to share with you what goes on behind the scenes. People say I'm calm, and I am. But, there's a lot that goes on underneath that surface as I scramble to keep up with all the companies that I work with and a few more. ... Okay, so now I'm going to click and I'm going to show you some samples. And by the by, I just want everybody to know, if, again, you came today, this is a show and tell. It's not a demo. And because I'm going to edit this down when I go, right before I go to the new camera view, I'm going to kind of do an introduction. So I don't have to edit back from the very beginning of the video and splice it all together. So if you're wondering why I'm saying it again, it's not because I forgot that I already said it. It's because I want to make it easier for me on the edit. Hey everybody, Seth Apter here. I'm coming to you from my studio in New York City. Welcome and thank you so much for joining me here on YouTube. I want you to know that I recently got back from the Pacific Northwest, where I was teaching at the Pacific Northwest Art School on Whidbey Island in a little town called Coopville with a phenomenal group of people. It is called Found and Gathered. It has been my course that I've been teaching, a 5-day retreat for the last year or so. It will continue into next year being 2025, and probably beyond. And today I want to take you on a little bit of a walkthrough. I'm going to walk you through the sample that I made in advance of the class, and I'm going to walk you through the very, very little bit I got done as I was demoing in the class. And then as a bonus, for those of you who either stay the whole time on this recording or who just go right to the end, I'm going to show you some very special papers, my favorite group of papers that I made while I was there. All right, let's get going. Found and Gathered is a 5-day retreat that is about finding and gathering. So I think of that in many ways. Finding in the sense that you're going to be using found objects. Finding in the sense that as you work through this project and in the class, you may be able to discover and find a little bit more about your artist's voice. Finding yourself in a place that's very, 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 very different, perhaps, than it typically is if you let yourself go in this class. You're gathering your supplies before the class. You're gathering together as a class. You're gathering where you are taking the class. And the whole notion of this project, I loosely call it a book, is that you are creating from a sense of place. So if you took this class in the Pacific Northwest, where I just taught it, versus in New Mexico, where I taught it earlier this year, you will have made 2 very different books because the spirit of the location, the community that's there, the materials that you find and gather and purchase while you're there make their way into a book that you could only make in that moment in time. By the by, this project is called On the Occasion of the Reopening of the World. It was made between 2021 and 2023, slowly during the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic. And so finding and gathering, the notion was also that after being closed off, we are all finding each other again and gathering together. So the whole idea behind this is just that we are making a series of booklets and individual and elements that are then wrapped in something. For me, it was just wrapped in this trifold that I made and stitched to add a little bit of a detail on the cover and something that I can wrap around to keep it together. And I'm just going to walk you through and tell you a little bit about this as I go. Let's get you a little closer, maybe even a little closer still. Yeah. So some of the elements in here are individual single pages. And really, if you look at what you see in here, you pretty much see everything that I do with the exception of 3D elements that I do a lot of, because there is collage, there's inking, painting, gel printing, stamping, stenciling, mark making, stitching, addition of fabric. And basically, if you take this class, you get all of that. And then there are the books. For me, I love these loose threads, so you're going to see them everywhere. And the books are small, and they're meant to either be focused on nothing, if you know what I mean, just where the layers take you. They might be abstract, they might not be. They might be very specific and personal to you. Many people in my class at the Pacific Northwest Art School were using the books to share their story and to process. There was a lot of emotion going on. And as you will note, and you will note further along, there is definitely an Asian influence in my work. I love the calligraphy, the language, not necessarily because I don't know what it means, but in terms of the beauty of the marks. This is one of my stencils, and it's my language. This is someone else's language, but what they have in common is this most beautiful sense of mark. So I'm just going to flip through these relatively quickly. Again, here we have an element that is a single piece of bookboard that is layered with stuff, lots of stuff, and always the loose threads and always the red threads, so meaningful for me. This book is my nod to a fabric book. So the class consists of, I would say primarily of paper, but you can put as much fabric as you want in it. And again, you'll see the influence of other cultures. And all the pages inside are fabric. The pages are stiffened a bit. The fabric is stiffened with the use of my vintage beeswax embossing powder. And the shine is taken away, and I will show you something else later about that. So it ends up being matte rather than shiny. And again, the fabric, this is some echo dyed fabric. It's actually been rusted over, and then some stitching. Again, I am a lover of red thread. And I really love stitching on one side and allowing the stitching to come through on the reverse side, regardless of what it looks like. And often the back is something I like even more than the front. Little bits of collage just to add a focal point. This is an element torn from an old book cloth. And then I always say, and I do always say it, that in my mind, books are the most intimate, or one of the most intimate of art forms, because in order to see it, you have to touch it, you have to open it, you have to feel it, you have to become part of the book. And having interactive elements like pockets and slots just adds to that excitement of the person who might be discovering something that they didn't even necessarily know was there to begin with. I love tabs. I love things that stick off the edge. This is an old vintage file I have 2 of them, saving them for special things, and certainly this project was a special thing. There's some mark making that maybe at first glance looks a little bit like stitching. I like to do that. Stitch and faux stitch. And some of the books, they're not bound. These, by the way, are so simply bound. These books that I'm sharing with you are all pamphlet bound. But this is just a little folder or folio, as you can see. Lots of detail. Again, the stitching, you might not notice at first. And then the insides. I always work small, and I always try to get as many marks as I can. My philosophy is more, little by little. As I was saying to the people in the class, it's about building up the layers slowly. It's not about throwing it on in lots of big marks or lots of thick layers. It's about taking your time. You can't shortchange the building of a layer. And I like to create a little world, a little tiny world on all these small pieces, so that if you look at it on Monday, you see something, and then when you go back to Tuesday, you say, oh, I didn't even notice those are words. That is my thing. A little bit more. Again, these are all these single pieces. They are book boards that have been cut up, taking all the circumstances into consideration, and then worked over. And again with the thread, again with the thread. There's another word there, evidence. And love this book. Again, it's all thready. Thready's a word, right? And this one has a little bit of a different style. The books are all a little different because they morphed with me over 2 years. And so each book reflects a different point in time. You might notice that this book is a little brighter. This one was made later. So this was sort of made as we were moving through the pandemic. And some of these other books that are definitely more focused on sort of darker colors, a little bit more grounded depth, relates to earlier in the pandemic. For those of you who don't know about book boards are basically the boards that are used to make hardcover books, traditional hardcover books. So for me, a lot of what I do is I work on book boards. I've worked on them for years and years and years, really from the very beginning. And so what that means is either buying or saving an old book or a new book, and then perhaps chopping the cover using my guillotine cutter, or just using the whole book and then working over it. More often for me, I get an old book and I take that cover, and because I do like to work small, if the old book is bigger, I chop it up, but I work over an old book. So all this right here, that was just original to the book. And then everything else were my marks. And bookboard can be bought in different thicknesses, but it is just the traditional board in books. And you might see it elsewhere called chipboard, even cardboard, like the back of a pad. Us old school people remember pads, paper pads. You tear off the back of the pad, and that you got a bookboard basically. Really happy with these pages. This was when I was leaning into this notion of yes, more is more, but sometimes simple, minimal is a little bit better, as long as when you look closely, you realize that there's actually a lot going on, just maybe not as much as you see on these pages. Some Islamic writing. And again, brighter and more colorful. And then last but not least, we have one more slice. And you might get a little sheen here. Again, this is coated in my vintage beeswax, which is neither vintage nor beeswax, but it is a wonderful product to use. and that is Found and Gathered. I am teaching this so far next year at 2 locations, in Mesa, Madeline Island, Madeline Island School of the Arts in Wisconsin. That has been sold out, and also in Connecticut, but that has also been sold out. So stay tuned. It will appear and reappear if you're interested in taking the class. Now, I taught this again last week at the Pacific Northwest Art School on Whidbey Island in Washington State, and I spent a lot of time with my peeps there. So sometimes I get to do more when it comes to the sample, and sometimes I get to do less. And I will say I probably did less on this demo because I was just so captured by the amazing work that was being done by all the people in the class. There were 18, and I wanted to spend a lot of time with them. So a lot of time in between the demos was spent with them rather than working on my own. So this is a work in progress. It's just bits and pieces, but this is from an old book. So this is a perfect example of a book board. This has not been touched by me. This is just exactly what it was. Phenomenal. Nature does it better than I could any and every time. And then I started to work on the inside front cover. This will serve as the same thing as this cover here, loose. And I'll figure it out. I rusted this clip while I was there. This was a shiny new clip. I'm going to talk about rusting in a moment. And I'm going to be adding lots of clips and things that are going to hang out over the edge. And this is just an element that I made while I was there, and I kind of liked it. It may go on the cover, it may not, but I thought, let me just clip it there. It gives some spice. Then this is the book that I started, and it is stitched together because I used it to demo the stitching, but it's so not complete. Those of you who know Jackie Jimerson, shout out to Jackie. Got to let her know I spoke about her. This was created using her stencil. Stencil, which I absolutely love. 2 of her stencils are hands down some of my favorites. And honestly, I try to mostly use my own products. And sometimes somebody creates something that's so extra special that it gets in the rotation, and Jackie's 2 stencils did. So this is what the book looks like. It's on some handmade paper that had this most gorgeous edge. And then this is white paper. And this was sprayed with my multiple colors of my dye spray, particularly Rusty Saffron, that's the red, and Sunflower is the yellow, but I think there was honey or coffee as well. And then on the inside, I covered the white with some tissue paper that I had rusted and also sprayed with some of my dye spray, the licorice. And then again, this is just the very beginning, but there's some gorgeous handmade paper that I got from Australia when I was there. It's reading a little lighter on my screen than it is in real life. It actually has a little bit more of a red undertone than you see here. And then some paper that I made using the jelly plate and some of my dye sprays, my paper artsy paint, and one of my stencils, one of my favorite stencils that I made with Stencil Girl products. This is the other stencil of Jackie's that I love, also made 100% with the gel plate and my dye sprays. And then the other sides of the paper. And here you can see what the paper was like when it was stark white. And then I did some of my wonky stitching, and I love my wonky stitching. I could wonky stitch forever and a day. And, I don't think that stitch has a name. Maybe it was a blanket stitch the first 2 times I stuck the needle through. And that is with point, not a demo, but a point. If you're gonna use your thread through paper and hand stitch, you'll want to wax your thread because it's so easy to tear the paper, especially when it's on the edge. All right, we got some tabby things here that are going to pop out. This was handmade paper that I used one of my paper artsy rubber stamps stamped over and over, and then I did some rusting, just an element. It's begun. This is something I made a long time ago that I thought would work with this. It's a little pocket. And then this is the edge of a brass stencil that I cut down. and then I layered some stuff over it. So we'll find out where that goes, and it may not even go. But I like to collect things along the way as I make something like this. Again, found and gathered. I like to find these things. I like to gather them together. They may or may not make the final product. A little bit more of that. Love this. It's an old, I got this in Portland years ago at Cargo, an amazing store if you've never been there. It is the corner of an old Chinese stencil. And it's very fragile, but it had a little bit of a tab to it. So I added a little bit more cutting, and that will go in there and kind of pop out. Maybe at the top, maybe at the side. You know, we're going to see. And then my second book that I started, but I did not stitch yet together. And very often I suggest to people, if you're going to make these kinds of books, stitch them last so that you can work on them outside the covers. It's just easier to manage and manipulate. And this one, obviously, in contrast to that one, it's got a little bit more darkness. Same stencils used right there, though. And there's been some, hopefully you couldn't quite tell, but fine if you could. This is actually collaged over that element. It kind of maybe looks like there's only handmade marks, but part of what I do in this class is teach people to integrate so that when you add something to the surface, it doesn't look like you've just stuck something on it. Nothing ruins the magic of a collage by putting a little square element on it, gluing it and leaving it, because that's all it looks like. So we spent a lot of time integrating and sandwiching the layers. Just begun to add some detail, including some of that red thread. This book is a little longer. You know, it's an extra signature, but it's still very small. We got some brightness in the center. I thought that would be a beautiful contrast to the darkness of the earlier pages. We'll see what happens to that. Again, a lot of this was done using my stencils and done on the jelly plate. And then I've just begun, we had a really interesting demo on collaging on something that pulls apart and using the smaller elements. So I've just begun to collage that page and a little bit more. And then my back cover. It's also from a book, an old book. I started to rust it. I will be working with it. It's cut in half, but please note that just because this is my front cover, it doesn't mean my back cover has to match. So that is going to be what I'm going to be working on over the course of, I don't know, the next bunch of months, maybe longer. And I do want to highlight for those who know the story of Grace, that I promised Grace that she would be in my next book. Grace is somebody I serendipitously met at an art show I did, who provided me with some material in the most magic of ways. Actually tore it off the clothes she was wearing, and it's going to go in here to grace this book. All right, last thing I want to show you, and thank you for your patience as we go through this, is I want to show you some of the papers that I made that will become something. And we did a lot of things in this workshop, including some dyeing, mostly tea dyeing. I have a very kind of special new way I'm learning to tea dye. I'm going to work on that and broaden it so I can maybe do a demo on it, or it'll probably be maybe an art salon class. We did a lot of rusting. We bathed things in embossing powder in the vintage beeswax embossing powder. And if you don't know that, that's that. This is the old container. You can look on YouTube. I have several different videos that show how to use it in just some of many ways. But amongst the most favorite things I love to do is these papers. So I just want to show you a little bit, and then we'll close up. But this is some old vintage paper that has almost tissue-like. You can see how brittle it is. You can see how it's probably been eaten by, I'm assuming, some bugs along the way, and it's been beautifully rusted. I rust, by the way, I don't have it. Oh, maybe I do. So now I don't have it in front of me. I rust the easy way with Paper Artsy rusting powder. If you're not familiar with that product, you can find it in my shop. It's very easy. And if you want to see what it's all about, when you get to that item in my shop, you can click on the link that'll take you to my free Facebook demo. I do want to make mention, a lot of people can't seem to find it in my shop. I have a shop section that I call the Emporium, and That is the one section in my shop that includes items from people other than myself. And it's divided into further, there's paper and there's fabric, there's washi and tape. There's a whole bunch of different things. And there's one section on supplies. Don't forget about the supplies. All right, so this is some fabric that has on one side been coated with the vintage beeswax, the other side not. So you see the difference. You see the stiffening that one coat of vintage beeswax gives versus what fabric normally looks like. And after that, it was then rusted. One of the things I want to make mention is when you rust, I want you to note that, yes, I mean, this is amazing. And that's maybe what I'll use, but always look on the reverse side because you never know what you're going to get. And honestly, this is kind of book ready. You know, it folds right there. Somehow I managed to do it halfway and actually make that measuring work since I don't ever measure. But this has potential, my friends. All right, let's add that to the pile. Then this is an element that was embossed not by me on a gorgeous sagey handmade piece of paper. I started to paint the back, but it's really the front that I love. And it was smothered in 3 layers of vintage beeswax. Vintage beeswax, in order to get that faux encaustic effect, is very, very shiny. And so I use matte medium to dull it. And it's hard to tell, but this is kind of really thick and rich. And it does have a little bit of a shine, but I really love how that came out. Not quite sure how I'll use that yet. Maybe it'll go in a book, but it may become the beginning of a new art piece. And again, a highlight that all the stuff that I'm doing here, the tea dyeing, the rusting, and the beeswax, they all can be used together. They all can be used together. All right, so this is tea dyed. There is a touch of rust, but the coloration is tea. And I know maybe you're saying, I don't know if you're saying, but tea is not usually, the tea dye tends to be a little bit, you know, kind of browner. The color around here, that was tea dyed first. This is actually very pale. But the notion for the way I tea dye now is you can get color like that. And actually these spots, they didn't come from direct rusting. They came from an indirect way that I tea dye. More on that when I figure it all out. This is also tea dyed. And I want you to notice the sort of spotted elements in there. This is probably my favorite piece. Love this one. I just think those colors, I mean, are so fresh. And just to show you, what it started out as, wasn't prepared for this, so I had to reach and find it. Luckily, I found it right away. Now I'm struggling to separate the two halves. But I don't even need to separate the two halves because I can show you this is the before and this is the after. And I am, can I say, truly, madly, deeply in love with this sheet and this process. More on that when I perfect it enough to actually show you all. And then last but not least, also had this. And you might notice that a lot of these papers that I use are softer, flexible, almost tissue-like. This has been rusted. And those I find are my favorites for this process and will absolutely get used within collage elements like that piece did. So I want to thank you so much for joining me here today. This was a wonderful experience to take you on this walkthrough of the art that I had created for the class Found and Gathered, some of the papers, and a little bit of the art that I started making in my demo samples while I was teaching Found and Gathered at the Pacific Northwest Art School. on Whidbey Island in Washington State. If you've never been there, check it out. They have the most amazing people teaching there with classes across the board and lots of different venues. And I want to thank you for taking the time to spend with me on this walkthrough on YouTube, and I look forward to seeing you at my next one. All right, cut. That was my outro, my friends. That was my outro. So that was the official outro for the edited version, which I think, because I was basically ignoring your comments, sadly, I may not have to edit at all, which means it will go up faster for your viewing pleasure. So you don't necessarily have to listen to this over and over again, because it may not be as fun to listen to this over and over again when it's not live. So I want to just say that if you did leave any kind of comment that you need me to respond to or answer, could you leave it again? Because really, not easy for me. It's focusing away from the community and just wanted to have a start to finish demo that I could put on YouTube. And if you are watching this on YouTube, can I suggest 2 or 3 things that might help me? One is that please follow my YouTube channel. You'll get announcements, you'll get reminders, and there is a YouTube community, and I post in that community a lot, so you'll get those postings. Secondly, like this, like do whatever you have to like, floaty likes, hearts. If you don't like it, then put the angry faces and the crying faces, like just respond. And then when you see any video that is recorded, apparently if you like it in the very beginning and follow from that, it means more to me. I've heard Tim talk about this, so I know he knows what he's talking about. So please, 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 if you do ever watch the recorded version, just hit some likes. I don't know why I'm doing it with my thumbs like I'm playing a video game or texting. All right, so I'm going to look back at the comments just before I sign off, because I got to get back to work, my friends. I got to unpack from Pacific Northwest so I can repack for this whole new class and adventure I'm leaving for tomorrow. Plus, I got all these deadlines for new products and new stuff that I'm going to need to work on. So let me see. First of all, thank you guys. I did notice some extremely wonderful comments, and I thank you. And I hope you were inspired by those books. And I hope that along the way, I added a few tidbits that might help you or guide you or give you some information or some reminders. So I appreciate that. You guys are also responsive. Love you. Love you. Love you lots. And let's see, I arrived late to the show. Did I miss any recipes? Diane, no, there was no demos today. Just some announcements, some new products, some information about things coming up, and then the walkthrough. I am going to show you, for those who missed it, though, the pet tape one more time. So if you don't know what I'm saying, pet tape, why would he tape his pet? Stay tuned. That'll only take another minute. Yes. Thank you, Carol. And persistence does pay off at some point. Hopefully I'll be somewhere close to you and anyone else who wants to take a class in a time that works, and hopefully at a price point that also works for you. Let's see. Yep. Oh, you're all so good. So just last bonus for those who came late. Plus Minus, hands down my favorite company that makes washi and pet tapes. Janine just put a link on there. Just released 2 kind of one and done. She ordered a limited edition printed. When they're gone, they're gone. These are pet tapes. They're polyester, ethylene, something. And they're like packing tape. They're clear. They're matte finished. There are 2 of them. This one's called Words. They're huge rolls, much bigger than a traditional washi, or, well, pets tend to be bigger. And they are huge in terms of the repeat. So you get a lot. These are available now in my shop at SethApter.com. Maybe Janine can pop the link in one more time. And my favorite, save the favorite for last. That one's called Words. This is polychrome. How friggin' fantastically phenomenal are these? I mean, deep love. So they're available in my shop now until they sell out. And then hopefully, maybe, not promising, I'll try to get more. I can definitely try. And then just a couple comments in here. Come to BC, Canada. Tammy, I was so close. I literally could almost spit over the border when I was in Washington State. But I love BC. And my hope for sure is to get back there at some point. And the Midwest, I am looking into the Midwest. I have a couple possibilities. I did a number of years ago, right before the pandemic, a whole tour through the Midwest, but I need to get my butt back there. So stay tuned for that. Somebody asked about the UK. I am planning on going to the UK in March. I'm not 100% sure I can carve out a time to teach, but I do want to get back there. And I do want to say stay tuned for some exciting news about some European things for next year. That's all I can say. Can't find polychrome in my shop. Is polychrome sold out? Polychrome can't be sold out. I got a lot of these, my friend. Nope, polychrome's still there. So if you see that I'm not looking at you, it's because I am grabbing that link for polychrome, and they're in there. And come to North Carolina. I want to come to the Carolinas. I really do. I wanted to come down there before I wanted to go down there to support the community and the environment, but it's a place that I've already put out feelers for. I can't say that anything's quite come back yet. So Beth, who's asking, if you know, let me know. Inquiring minds want to know, where should I go? All right, guys, thank you so much. I'm going to sign off. A big thank you to Janine for helping behind the scenes, being the amazing person that she is. And yes, Sean, get that passport renewed. You're definitely going to want to go where I'm going to be going. All right, guys, thank you so much. Be well, take care, and I'll see you on a Tuesday or in between real soon. Bye.